Hey, this is Corey from Woodcraft. Today we're going to be going over what I keep in my personal first aid kit. Now, this is larger than some people's first aid kits. I know some people that just throw Band-Aids and Neosporin in a Ziploc and they call it good. Me personally, I like having a kit that I know I can grab no matter what the situation is. You know, we're swinging large axes, we're playing with large blades. There's a good chance of something severe happening, and I want to make sure that I can grab one kit. It's easy to find. Red usually symbolizes first aid. It's easy to see, and I want to make sure that I can grab one thing and take care of what needs to be taken care of without having to improvise, you know, using other pieces of my kit as first aid devices. I like knowing I can grab this and take care of myself or the people I care about. So if you want to know what's inside, stay tuned. Alright, so I keep it in a red condor pouch. Again, red usually means first aid or emergency or whatever. Plus, it's very high visibility. It's easy to see even inside a pack. If it's outside the pack, it still draws a lot of attention to it. So let's jump inside. Alright, so the first thing I have just kind of thrown on top is some Band-Aids. So I carry just a couple Band-Aids. The reason I carry Band-Aids isn't so much that if I get a cut or if I get something, I can put a Band-Aid on it. What I usually use Band-Aids for is if I get a cut or something, bugs and insects and sticks and everything just seem to be attracted to wherever that cut is or that scrape. And so I like to put a Band-Aid on it, not so much to control the bleeding or whatever, but just to keep the environment out of the cut itself, you know, the bugs and everything out from the cut. So I use those not to protect the cut from bleeding, but to protect the environment from infecting it. Next, right up on top, I have a tourniquet. Like I said, we're swinging large axes, we're playing with large blades. Not only do I have a tourniquet, but I know how to use it. If I were to swing an axe and it was to dig into my leg, I could use this to get stabilized enough to wait for help to come find me. You know, I can do what I need to get done so that I'm not just bleeding out in the woods. So it's important to me to have a tourniquet. It's more important to know how to use it. Okay, moving on, I have an Israeli bandage. Now, I'm going to try not to ramble too much, so I'm not going to go over all the uses for this, but there is a lot you can do with an Israeli bandage. So just type in Israeli bandage in the YouTube search, and there's a lot you can do with this. Moving on, I have liquid skin. Now, this is in a glass container, so I have to be very careful with it. But I like carrying the liquid skin because a lot of my cuts and scrapes and stuff are on my knuckles or between my fingers. Places where Band-Aids don't really help. They more get in the way than they help. You know, because I usually overstrike my ferro rod, and so I punch the stump or the rock or the whatever I'm using as a base. Or I grab a bunch of sticks and they could get between my fingers and cut between my fingers. And so I like having the liquid skin because, again, I can cover it up, protect it from the environment, but I don't have that big bulky Band-Aid getting in the way. So I like the liquid skin. Next, I have a puppy who likes to interrupt my videos. Another thing I like to carry are mints. Now, these mints are really good at redirecting your mind, you know. When my son, especially because he's so young, if he falls and he scrapes his knee or his elbow or something, he's just focused on that. Even though it's not bad and it doesn't really need any attention, you know, because it happened, he's so focused on it. Being able to just look at it, wipe it off, clean it, give him a little mint, tell him he's fine, you know. It just redirects his mind on the candy and what he's going to play next. You know, it gets him off of the injury and onto moving forward. So I like to carry little mints with me as well. Next I have Carmex. I find that this works really well with chapped lips. And chapped lips in any situation isn't fun. So I like to take care of my lips with Carmex. Next I have a little tube. I got this tube from a place I used to work at. And I have a full ibuprofen. Now the ibuprofen, again, it's not so much for cuts and scrapes and stuff. Even though it does happen and it does help. What I mostly use these for is after hiking for long distances or swinging my axe that I'm not used to swinging all the time or doing other things, I end up getting kind of stiff and a little sore, you know, and having this ibuprofen to just kind of get rid of that stiffness and soreness and swelling, it really helps, especially at night when you're sleeping. And so I like carrying ibuprofen with me. Next I have a fingernail clipper. You know, you're grabbing a lot of sticks and you're digging in the dirt and you're doing a lot of stuff with your hands, and so tearing a nail or something, it's nice having a way to just quick clip it off and keep your nails trimmed and nice, instead of trying to bite and tear and just see what happens. I like having the control of a fingernail clippers. Next I have a tweezers. You know, you're dealing with a lot of wood, you're dealing with a lot of split cut wood, and so the chances of getting a splinter, a sliver, or whatever greatly enhance compared to your normal day living usually. And so I like carrying tweezers to help safely and cleanly remove those items from my skin, especially if I have a tick. I like using this to get ticks off if they're like really embedded in. The next thing that I have in here is earplugs. Now, I think that your first level of first aid is a good night's sleep. You know, when you're well rested and you slept good the night before, you're a lot more alert, you're aware of what's going on, you're a lot more patient, you're a lot more clear-minded than you are when you're groggy and sleepy and tired and you just want to get this done so I can go sit down. And you know, when you're tired, that's when you make a lot more careless mistakes, and that's when you're trying to rush more because you just want to go sit down or you just want to go lay down or you want to, you know, when you're awake and you're alert and you're aware of what's going on and you're a lot more patient and focused, you prevent a lot of accidents from happening in the first place. So having those earplugs, it's kind of a hack. If you're new at being in the woods, you're usually used to hearing cars and your neighbors and everything that's going on around you. But when you're in the woods and everything's just dead quiet, it's just super quiet, the leaves rustling or falling in the wind, the squirrels and chipmunks and the other noises of the night, all those horror movies you've been watching since you were a kid start kind of reenacting in your brain. And having a way to just get rid of those noises and get them just out of your mind, that's a good way of getting a good night's sleep without being interrupted by those noises or your imagination. Plus, when you're in a group, there's usually at least one person who just loves snoring all night long. And having earplugs is a good way of eliminating that noise so that you both can get a good night's sleep. You know, you're not constantly up because they're snoring and you're not constantly waking them so that you can fall asleep. You know, both of you can have a better night's sleep and have a safer tomorrow by having these earplugs, and that's why I keep them in my first aid kit. Moving on to the next side, I have a pair of gloves. With everything that I carry, I have the ability to take care of somebody else. You know, if somebody else is uncomfortable or hurt, I want to make sure that I can safely take care of that person because it helps the morale and it helps make the trip the best that it can be. You know, when you have somebody else that's hurt or sore or not on top of things, you know, it kind of You can still have a good time, but you know in the back of your mind that we could be having a lot better time if your girlfriend was a lot more comfortable, if she wasn't so sore, if she wasn't so tired. You know, you could be having a lot better time. So I like being able to provide that first aid value so that we can all as a group have a better time. Next I have hand sanitizer. Now this hand sanitizer, if you watched my hygiene kit, the hygiene kit has hand sanitizer in it. I do not use this for hygiene purposes. I try to keep this kit as closed as possible. I don't open it unless I absolutely need it. That way everything stays organized. I can find it. It doesn't just get thrown in there. You know, I try to keep this closed at all times. And so by having hand sanitizer in my first aid kit for first aid and in my hygiene kit for hygiene, it allows me to know that I have what I need when I need it. When I grab this kit, I know that I have what I need and I don't have to improvise or go searching for anything. It's all right here and it's all organized. So hand sanitizer. Here I have wipes. So I have alcohol cleaning wipes, I have antiseptic wipes, I have burn cream, I have these burn cream wipes. There's just a bunch of wipes in here to help clean and neutralize burns and cuts and prevent infections and stuff like that. I have another baggie here that has aspirin, Tylenol, and ibuprofen and anti-diarrhea pills. Because again, some people are allergic to Tylenol, some people are allergic to ibuprofen. So by having everything, I usually have what that person needs. Also the anti-diarrhea is very important because if you were to, you know, if your hands weren't as clean and you were to pick up something and you ended up with diarrhea, diarrhea dehydrates you a lot, right? And when you're in the woods, you have a limited supply of water. You don't have the ability to just run the faucet and get more water. And so you want to make sure that you can keep up with your hydration. So whether you're boiling it or filtering it or just carrying it with you, you only have a limited supply, and depending on your time frame, you only have a certain amount of water at certain times. So you want to make sure to eliminate anything that's dehydrating you so that the amount of water you have at that specific time will keep you hydrated and keep you going. So that's a very important thing to consider. I know I'm rambling a lot, but I'm going to try to get through this. Super glue. Now I don't recommend using super glue, but I have used super glue. I've done it before. I just want to warn you though that make sure that the super glue you use, if you do choose to use it, is safe for your skin. Okay, because I know that I think Gorilla Glue and some other glues, they're not good for your skin, so they're not good to use. If you were to get a big cut that's split open, you can use super glue to close it. I don't recommend it again, but in an emergency you can do that. I have done that, and I just want to warn you that if you super glue a cut closed and you go to the hospital to get stitches, they scrub out that super glue and that hurts worse than the cut. At least in my experience, that sucked. But, you know, I wasn't bleeding all over the place. I didn't bleed out. You know, I was able to close it, go to the hospital, get stitches, and everything worked out really well. So make sure before you use this that it is worth having it scraped out later. Next I have some Breathe Right nose strips. In the fall especially, it's fall time right now, the air can be really dry and it can be hard to breathe at night sometimes. So I just like having a Breathe Right nose strip to kind of open everything up, prevent my stuffy nose, and so that I can get a good night's sleep again. Next I have butterfly band-aids. Again, I get a lot of cuts on my knuckles and between my fingers. So having the butterfly band-aids is, if the liquid skin can't cover it, these can. If my son were to get a cut in one of those areas, he would probably use one of these because that liquid skin, it burns when you apply it. So I'd probably just put one of these on him because he doesn't need the mobility that I need usually. Next I have moleskin. So when you're hiking and you're traveling over distance, a lot of stuff tends to rub. You know, it rubs and it gets kind of raw. You cut out what you need with this and you can put it on your heel, or your big toe is usually where I get it the most. My big toe will rub raw, you know. And so you cut out a little chunk and then sticky on the back, and you just stick it on your foot or whatever, and it prevents it from rubbing completely raw. It prevents it from becoming an open wound. And so just a little moleskin. And then I just have some big gauze pads. Again, you can use these for a lot of different things. If I'm cut and I'm bleeding, I can tape that to my arm. I can put antiseptic cream on it, put it on my arm. I can put burn cream on it. There's a lot of things you can do with these pads. And so let me put all this stuff back in here, and then we'll close this up. Alright, so we have this closed up. It's all compact in here. As you can see, there's a lot of things in here that either I use when I'm out, or in a situation that could easily occur, I have an ability to take care of it. And so I want to know in that comment section, what is it that you think I'm missing, or do I have something in here that I should take out? You're never going to need that. You're never going to use it. Get it out of there. Or am I missing something that you feel is very important? Make sure to leave that knowledge and those questions in that comment section. I learned so much from you guys. There's a lot of you that know more than I do. So make sure to leave that in the comments section. I love learning from you guys. Then make sure to like and share these videos so that we can spread that knowledge and those ideas to the people we care about most. And as always, don't forget to subscribe and come join the pack. I have a new video every Sunday and Thursday, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.